What's good, YouTube? We're back for another video. Very often I have customers who are new keepers, and they're always asking me for tips or advice on how to keep their animal, or what they should do when they first receive their animal. So in this video, we're going to talk about some things that you should be doing or you should be considering when you're bringing in a new animal. So let's get to it.
Here we go.
So in this one, we're talking about what to do when you first bring an animal home. I'm gonna try and show off a few animals in this video because I'm sure people are tired of seeing my face, so much rather see my animals. But we're talking about what to do when you first bring an animal home, whether it be you acquired it at a show or you went to meet somebody, or if you have it shipped to you. The first thing that you really should do, and this is even before you've received the animal or you've brought the animal home, is to have the enclosure set up and ready for the animal, so that when you bring the animal home, it has a warm place already set and ready for it, and you don't have to wait a few hours heating up your enclosure and doing all of that. A few other things you should be doing, or some information you should have before you bring an animal home. You should be talking to the breeder where you're getting the animal from. Find out how they were keeping the animal. Like if you're getting the animal from a breeder, it probably means that it's coming from a rack system. That may influence how you want to set up your animal at home, knowing it was in a rack system. Same goes for substrate, same goes for what the animal has been fed. You want to keep the transition as
smooth as possible,
or you want to minimize the stress level on the animal. So doing a little research and finding out what the breeder, the person who owned the animal before you, it's always a good idea. Alright, now if you are having the animal shipped to you, I don't know, at this point I gotta send a big up to Sam from Reptile Express, who makes the shipping process so easy. Guys, if you're having animals shipped, gotta use Reptile Express. They make the process so simple, so easy, you really can't screw it up. But anyway, if you're having the animal shipped to you, it should be coming in an insulated box, something similar like that. And when you open it up, you can see inside there's, I think it's 3/4 inch foam insulation all around, and a heat pack. The first thing, and it's depending on the time of year, it should have a heat pack. So when you receive the animal, hopefully it's been packed in an insulated box. Should be secured in something like a snake bag or plastic container. Should be secured. The animal, there should be paper in there so that the animal can't get thrown around and tossed around inside the box. I think what's most important is when you first receive your shipment, it's very important that you inspect the box, make sure that the box hasn't been kicked around, hasn't been damaged in any way. Because if the box has been kicked around or damaged, that might be something that you want to report to FedEx. Might have some concern over the safety of the animal. So the first thing you want to do is look and inspect the box, make sure everything looks good. Now, when you open the box, you also want to make sure that the animal is secure in the box, and also check to make sure that it's warm. But I do want to make a note here. Don't expect inside this shipping container or inside the styrofoam box, don't expect it to be 90 degrees like in your enclosure. more than likely it's going to be, the shipping temperature is usually around 77 to 80 degrees. Don't expect it to be 90 degrees, guys. Not 90 degrees inside the box will probably kill your animal. Another thing to make note of is you might have holes on the side of your box for air holes. Once again, don't be concerned if the person who's shipping you the animal knows what they're doing. If they're using Reptile Express, big up Sam, you get all the instructions on what to do. You really can't screw it up. Those holes are supposed to be there, so that isn't a worry. Alright, so once you've determined that the box, let's put them down. Once you've determined that the box is in good shape and the animal has arrived to you safely, it's time for you to actually inspect the animal. A couple things you want to look at. You want to look at the thickness. Come out. You want to look at the thickness of the animal. Make sure the animal's been eating. You want to look at the mouth and the vents of the animal. Make sure you're not seeing any mucus or any mites running around or anything like that, and you want to check just for general overall health. This girl is a really nice girl and she has that funky spot. Not sure why she's still here, but she is available, guys. If you're looking for a female pied, she is still available. A funky girl with the spot. So once you have determined that the snake is in good health, you want to get it into the enclosure that you have ready for it. Make sure it has fresh water, because it hasn't had access to water for at least 24 hours. So you want to make sure you have some fresh water for the snake in case it wants a drink, and give it time to just relax and acclimate to its new environment. You got to remember that to the snake, we are very scary. It's been put into a box and shipped somewhere. Now it's in a totally new environment, new smells. You want to give your animal time to acclimate to its new environment. So put it in the enclosure. And I know as hard as it might be for especially new keepers, you got to leave it alone. You got to leave it alone for a few days. Don't go in and handle it. In a best case scenario, have your enclosure in a room that has very little foot traffic. You don't want it in a busy living room where you have the kids running around or you have the dogs running back and forth, because that's going to stress out the animal. If you are using an aquarium type enclosure, please make sure you have several hides for the animal, because the little guy is going to want to hide, because that's going to help it to feel secure.
Could you just briefly speak to feeding? Because I know we get some customers sometime who try to feed the next day, so what's the best advice in terms of feeding as your snake is acclimating to its new environment?
Well, in terms of feeding, it's kind of the same thing. You got to give the animal time to assess the situation and time to determine that it's safe in its new environment. Right? So people tend to want to feed them first, second day that they get the animal in, they want to feed and it doesn't eat, and they're worried. You got to use some, not to be insulting, but you got to use some common sense. If you're looking at an animal like this, you know that this animal has been eating and it hasn't had an issue eating. Unless I've been force feeding it for 5-6 months, you know an animal like this is eating.
We're not doing that, just so you know.
So you want to give the animal time. I usually tell customers wait a week before you offer a meal, and even that first week or that second week, if the animal doesn't take, don't be surprised, don't get nervous and panic. The worst thing you can do is be offering the animal food every second day or third day. Offer one day, the next, if it doesn't take, give the animal a week. Leave it alone, make sure it has proper husbandry, make sure your humidity is on point, make sure that I guess husbandry, your temps. That would be your husbandry. Make sure you have hides. Just do your best to make the animal feel secure, and the animal will eat once it's starting to feel a little bit more, oh gosh, a little bit more secure. It's a little guy, so you gotta be patient. It's very, if this hobby has taught me anything, it's patience. Alright, I'm gonna end this video on this pair of Super Enchi boys. Still available, and just, man, I love Enchi. But that pretty much rounds up the advice I would give anyone when they're having a snake, either bring home a new snake or having a new snake shipped in. The one thing I didn't mention is if you're putting the snake in a room with other animals, you want to be very mindful of that. Quarantining is very important. But when I first did this video, the idea came when I was giving advice to a first-time keeper. So if you're a first-time keeper, you don't have to worry about quarantining because you don't have any other animals in the room. On that note, I think we're gonna close up this video. Once again, please share, like, subscribe to the channel. Till the next time, take care.